What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Wayne. We back in the building with another dope video. And in today's video, I have a video that I seen or parts of it saying how AI is making everything more expensive, and I think it's dope for me to like bring this up or like talk about it. And yeah, so we gonna get into it. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe when y'all see the video. And shout out to Scotty. This video is coming out. One of my subscribers, he be in the live chat. Shout out to my nigga Scotty. It's his birthday today. You know what I mean?
You ugly motherfucker.
Shout out to that boy Scotty. You know what I mean? But anyway, I just wanted to say that in case you do see this. Shout out to that boy Scotty. But yeah.
Corporate greed is reaching unimaginable levels. Studies show that companies are using AI to set personalized prices according to each person's profile.
Companies may be using your data against you. Shocker. It is called surveillance pricing, and that is when a company sets the price you see based on your unique habits and demographics.
A McKinsey study estimated that AI-based pricing systems can increase a company's revenue by up to 15%.
We found big retailers with little regional competition can extract large profits simply by adjusting prices of essential goods like food items.
Likewise, investigations by Consumer Reports detected differences of up to 116% in the price of the same online product, depending on the buyer's zip code.
Surveillance price.
That's a crazy thing. So if something costs $10, they're saying online or just by my zip code, they're detecting price differences for that exact product. If the product costs $10 in my zip code, they have it priced at over $20 in certain, whether it's online or at different retailers and this, that, and forth. That's crazy. But again, like I said, like this is the day and age that we live in, and I don't have a problem like just putting my content or my ideas out there. But what I do want to say to anybody, whoever is going to watch my content, it's not the time to just be scary or not try nothing new or try something different. I get it. We all got jobs. We all got livelihoods. A lot of us have kids, and we got to do something different to make money and sustain ourselves because more and more people are getting laid off. I'm a victim of this. At the current day and time that you're watching this video, I was laid off how long ago? Going into New Year, the day after Christmas, I was laid off from where I work. So I'm not somebody who's not affected by this, but I also had the wherewithal or the mindset that I'm going to put my hands in so many other ways, and I'm going to invest. I was going to say investigate. I'm going to invest in myself to do different things. So, yeah, that's just how I tackle it. So, like I said, I do content. I have other business ideas that I work through and stuff like that. And I'm striving and trying to make a way for myself. But I know the long-term play isn't just being a W-2 employee for somebody else, because at the end of the day, that can all come crashing down. Now, it hasn't affected certain big like world. I don't know how you pronounce them. Not how you pronounce it, how you say it. Certain like world industries, like AI hasn't really affected the police force, or it hasn't affected the nursing force. Although it has, I'm saying like it hasn't displaced every cop or it hasn't displaced every medical professional. So it's just been bits and pockets and bits and pieces of different industries that are affected by it. But those people in those industries that I just named, not picking on them or any other industry, they're not immune to something happening in their industry. So we're gonna keep going.
That's when companies use someone's personal data, like browsing, even credit history, to sell them a product at a different price than what other consumers might see.
An independent analysis revealed that Uber can charge up to 6% more when the user's phone battery is below 15%.
Now, this is a crazy thing that you wouldn't even think of how deeply ingrained AI is in our daily lives. These people over at Uber are finding ways to get 6% more out of you when your phone battery is low. They're just charging you because they know you need to just secure a ride faster. Like, I'm not calling it a medieval thing. I'm not calling it overly mischievous. Um it's not disrespectful. I don't even know the right term. I know that it's not cool to do stuff like this, but again, this is how we let people in. Like we just, and I'm not a big proponent of voting. So for anybody who is going to watch my content, I strongly do not agree with voting. I believe voting literally allows this cycle to keep going on and on because it just gives you another data point for people to fight over. I'm a fight with somebody who's going to say vote or not vote. Meanwhile, we both are going to get used and abused by the system that I'm not trying to engage with. No different than somebody's going to say church or no church, or if somebody's going to say vote blue or red or either way. I don't like arguing over those data points, so I just stay back and stay away from it. Not saying I stay away from those things, but I have my own thoughts and feelings and opinions about those things. But I'm just using those as an example because I'm not going to go in a back and forth with anybody about anything that I want or need. I'm just going to focus on making sure that happens for myself. If somebody wants to assist in that to help me or benefit me or something like that, cool. But I'm not going to argue with somebody over, well, you're part of the reason why the world is the way it is because you don't vote. And I'm like, nigga, you've been voting your whole life, but it's been getting worse. So if I'm part of the reason that it's getting worse by not voting, do you hold no blame for actually voting and it's getting worse? You see what I'm saying? So that's why I don't argue about stuff like that. I'm only here to give my 2 cents and then log off. So again, with my content, that's what I kind of do. And if you want to join the lives, I go live. I try to go live Sunday through Thursday off the late night, maybe around 11, but sometimes I'll be closer to midnight. But I think I'm gonna try to start going live closer to around 11 or 11:30 p.m. and that's Sunday through Thursday. But yeah. So yeah, we're gonna keep going, but 6% is diabolical. Diabolical.
Uber is in the spotlight as the company faces accusations from a Belgian newspaper that it can see riders' phone battery levels and changes rider fares based off of that information.
Even in airline tickets, a report by the Wall Street Journal documented that some airlines achieved up to a 20% increase in annual revenue after implementing AI-based dynamic pricing systems.
Next time you go online to purchase an airline ticket, there's a chance that the price you see was influenced by artificial intelligence.
So, how companies are using AI to charge you more. The concept of dynamic pricing is not new. It dates back to the U.S. airline industry during the 1970s, when ticket prices were still regulated by the federal government. With the approval of the Airline Deregulation Act of 1978, airlines gained full freedom to set fares, and this transition opened the door to the creation of the first yield management systems.
On October 24, 1978, President Carter signed the Airline Deregulation Act.
American Airlines developed one of the pioneering models, known as Dynamo, which analyzed demand patterns and automatically adjusted the prices of available seats. By 1985, the company reported revenue increases between 6 and 8% solely thanks to these strategies. And by the end of the decade, almost all commercial airlines were
to me, that's a lot. But again, because if you invest in any type of like stocks or investment, something like that, 6 to 8%, I would believe is good. I don't know. I mean, getting some 100% is best, like you're selling like weed or something like that. But if you're getting 6 to 8% and on millions of dollars or billions of dollars, I mean, that's good. That is a price increase. And if you can successfully get that off of just doing one added trick, then to me, that's a lot of money. And I would think would be great, If I made, $1 a day and then tomorrow all of a sudden I made $1.08, I mean, that is a significant increase. And if you do that with that, I mean, it doesn't seem like nothing in terms of a dollar, but if you track that to $1 million or $1 billion, that is a sizable amount of money. So it's crazy.
Similar mechanisms. This model was based on relatively simple but innovative principles for the time, raising prices as the plane filled up, increasing fares for those who purchased close to the flight date, and offering discounts only when occupancy needed to be stimulated. The practice worked so well that by the 1990s, it expanded to the hotel sector, car rentals, and rail transport service. This consolidation reinforced the idea that prices should not be static but should adapt to real-time demand. And major hotel chains still use this today.
Are you wondering why it's so expensive to stay at a hotel right now? What if I told you the rates that many hotels are charging are artificially inflated?
In the mid to late 1990s,
I mean, at this point, it don't even matter because if people are paying for the hotel. Now, I'm not against this policy. I'm not against this at all because that is the price of doing business. You know what I mean? The employer or whatever, I'm not saying I'm against it because I'm not against it. I actually understand the reason for doing it. You're using a trick, or I don't want to say a trick, but you're using a metric to get the most out of your your customer base. And that is good for your company. That's how your company grows. When your company grows, you employ more people. So although the customer may say, hey, that's savage that you're doing that to your employees. I mean, that you're doing that to your customers. They don't realize that a 500 person business just went to 2,500 people over the course of 2-3 years, employing more people. So there's always a yin and a yang to everything, you know. This may seem in one aspect as being nasty, but in another aspect, it actually helps more than one person. This is no different than having a home that you rent out, you know. In my eyes, you put the money down for the home, you got it under your control, and you rent out the room. Now, the person may say, oh, you're charging me too much, but I'm like, the person can say, well, if you don't live here, you're going to need to go live somewhere else. And you're going to pay 30, 40, 50% more to go live there. But you think my price is too high. So what's it going to be? Are you going to pay $1,500 a month to go live in a standard apartment? Or are you going to pay me $1,200? But the customer's going to think, oh, I want to pay you $900. It's like, dude, you're going to pay more than what I'm asking you if you don't even live here. So I understand it is what I'm trying to say. I don't look at it as a
became one
bad
of the
business
first
practice.
chains to systematically adopt the dynamic pricing model.
I just feel like there should be more controls to make sure that it doesn't get too out of hand. Because if a hotel, like they're talking about hotels, if a hotel averages during the week $125, and then all of a sudden they start doing this pricing model and they jump it up to $170, $180, that to me is a sizable increase. But to go from $125 to $135 seems fine to me. I don't think it should be those leaps and bounds because that's where, in my opinion, more of the negative sides of price increases can happen. Because if something costs $125 today and then all of a sudden it starts costing $180 and customers have to do it, well, I know that 50 so odd dollars, whatever that amount is, I know that $55 amount is not going directly to the company's bank account. Half of that shit is going directly to the CEO or the C-suite executives. At least that I know would be the case. But again, I don't claim to know everything.
By 1997, the chain was already using a centralized rate-setting system that compared projected occupancy, historical demand, and seasonal booking patterns in real time. The change had an immediate impact. According to corporate reports from the time, Hilton managed to increase its revenue per available room by nearly 6% annually for 3 consecutive years. It also...
Yeah, see, that's great. That seems fine to me. 6%, something like that. But if something goes up, like, that's no different than the inflation rate. Like, if something like a bag of chips when I was young were like $1.25. Nowadays, them shits are like $3.25 for that same bag or something. Now, that's fine because this is over the course of 30 years. It didn't just all of a sudden jump to that price. But if it just went from $1.25 to $3.29, now I got to start. To me, my spidey sense go off and says there's some BS going on with this price. But that's just me.
Reduced empty nights by approximately 12% in high-demand urban hotels such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. The principle was simple but powerful. If a hotel detected that 70% of its rooms were booked for a long weekend, the price rose automatically. Conversely, if projected occupancy fell below 40%, temporary discounts were activated. But this did not stop there. With the arrival of e-commerce in the mid-1990s, a second phase of expansion began. Amazon, one of its pioneers, began experimenting with price variations based on browsing data, search history, and user behavior.
If you're familiar with Uber, you're probably familiar with the term surge pricing. But a new report claims that Amazon may use surge pricing as well.
In the year 2000, for example, specific cases.
Now this I can understand to be true, but I just don't understand how, because if I go on Amazon right now to look up any product, I always see that it's on sale. But then it's like always 30% off. Like I can look up a product that's normally $70 and it'll be priced somewhere around 50. And it's like, okay, or 45. And I'm like, damn, that's a sizable decrease. But if they're only doing that because it's wintertime and people aren't buying that, fine. But if the summertime get here and this is a summertime type related purchase, that price is naturally increased from 70 to 90 or 100, then it's like, as long as you're not going too extreme with it, it's more or less than anything else. Like you do too much of an extreme, then I look at it as really, really harmful. But as long as it's within a range, like, you know what I mean? Like it's within a range, that I look at it as being perfectly fine. But what do I know?
Became public, showing how the same DVD could be sold with a 6% markup to one customer and not to another. Afterward, the company described these price differences as controlled tests. However, these experiments...
Yeah, okay. Controlled tests, all right, you know what I mean? If that's how you want to claim it, you know what I mean? Shout out to you, but controlled tests,
demonstrated
okay.
something crucial. Digital commerce made it possible to modify prices automatically, individually, and silently, without the consumer noticing. Between 2000 and 2010, the massive collection of data such as cookies, IP location, and purchase frequency transformed how online retailers tracked consumers. Using this information, they developed models that adjusted prices based on each user's estimated conversion probability.
Powered by algorithms and artificial intelligence, surge pricing is now being used across a growing number of consumer industries, from theme parks to restaurants, retail outlets, and rock concerts.
Academic studies from the time recorded variations between 5 and 15% for identical products viewed by different users. The message was becoming clear. Price personalization was no longer experimental and was beginning to become a structural practice of digital commerce.
I mean, hey, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. Now, the only thing you can do about it is not engage with it. But are you not going to engage with it as the customer? Who knows? Like I mentioned earlier, in Arizona, there have a lot of teachers stepping away from working as teachers. And how does the state react? The state reacts saying, oh, if you come back to work, we're going to give you $10,000 up front. And it's like, well, if you magically found $10,000 up front when I walked away, I must say double it or triple it to get me back in that position. But are the teachers saying that? I don't know. I'm just saying what I would do personally. Because if you found enough value, if I stepped away from something and you found enough value to say, hey, I'm going to give you 15 or 20% of what you make a year just right up front. Why not give me 50% of what I make a year right up front and do that shit every year? The money is going to go somewhere. Once the money leaves my pocket, it's going to go to like other people. I'm fine with it being spread around to other people so long as we're paying for things that we need, not like somebody just stay home and not do nothing. But if it goes around to other people, fine. But if it just goes to one random CEO and he's making billions and billions of dollars while everybody else is continually get taxed by stuff like that, I find that to be egregious. But again, that's just me.
But nothing accelerated the normalization of dynamic pricing as much as the arrival of Uber. In 2012, the company popularized the concept of surge pricing, a model that automatically increased fares when demand exceeded supply. The algorithm analyzed variables such as the number of available drivers, local events, weather conditions, and time of day. Based on these factors, it could multiply the cost of a ride by up to 200% during peak moments.
In January, 200% in peak moments. What the hell? Y'all heard that? It's some type of fly or bee or some shit in here. That's crazy. But anyway, that's crazy.
February 2020, say an Uber ride from New York City's John F. Kennedy Airport to Midtown Manhattan costs about $50. Today, based on the average price rise of Uber rides, that same trip could be $75. Based on the average price rise of Uber rides, Manhattan costs about $50. Today, based on the average price rise of Uber rides, that same trip could be $75, about a 50% jump.
Although the company argued that this tactic encouraged drivers to go out when they were most needed, later studies questioned its effectiveness.
Yeah, it does, because although riders take on that responsibility, they're getting less and less. It's like the triple constraint, you know? There's three pegs in a stool, a bar stool. You kick out any one of them, the whole system collapses. But when it comes to like surge pricing and shit like this, you'll realize that most of that extra money that the customer pays doesn't go to the employee who's doing the service. It finds its way right into the pockets of the CEO. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to explain it better than I
Showed
can.
that the system significantly increased fares without an equivalent increase in driver earnings.
Yeah,
Between
exactly.
2020
Like no increase in driver earnings, but an increase in fare price. The triple constraint. So now I'm paying more, but more doesn't go to the people actually doing the service. More goes to the CEO. So not only do I feel shafted because I'm paying 25 to 50% more for a ride, the damn driver feels equally shafted because they're doing the same amount of work, if not more, but they're realizing that their pay is staying the same or barely, if at all, going up in how much they retain. So if a driver does 200 rides a week, or I don't know how many rides is a lot. Let's say he does 100 rides a week and he makes several hundred dollars, and he does the same 100 rides next week and he only got $30 more, then he's going to be like, what the hell? Like something is wrong. You know what I mean? But
2022 and 2025, independent investigations documented that Uber's take rate in the United States rose from 32% to 42%.
take rate. I don't know what take rate. I think that's how much the company keeps. That's the only thing I can think it is.
This considerable increase reflected how the algorithm prioritized corporate profitability rather than balancing supply and demand. By the mid-2000s,
Yeah, because supply and demand is not it's that simple when it's just, hey, I'm selling oranges, do you want to buy an orange? But when you got a CEO, you got investors, you got advertisement, you got legal departments, like they're going to need more money on hand to handle those things, especially when there's more rules, laws, and regulations and stuff like that. So I understand the need to take that, but I just don't understand that big of an increase.
millions of users had become familiar with the idea that prices could double or triple at any moment, and they had accepted it without questioning it. Thus, the stage was set for other industries to begin adopting similar models. But the real leap in complexity came after 2020, when companies began integrating advanced artificial intelligence into their pricing systems.
Big changes are happening at Delta Airlines. The company announced that it's ramping up their dynamic pricing, and they will actually rely on artificial intelligence to forecast demand for specific routes and set what passengers will pay for fares.
Unlike previous models, which relied mainly on demand levels, these new algorithms could analyze millions of data points simultaneously. They estimated how much each customer was willing to pay. It was no longer about adjusting prices by hour or city, but by individual. AI
Jesus.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Bruh.
They doing this on the individual basis. So if something costs $50 normally, now they're just going to say, Wayne, you pay 55. Tom, you pay 58. Sarah, you pay 45 because you don't ever use this. But if you do, we'll give you the 5% in decrease. Now that's unfair for me and Tom if Sarah gets to pay less, but again, this is how instead of having all of us pay 50, now me and Tom have to go above and beyond and Sarah doesn't to try to entice her to actually use the service. It's crazy, man. That's gonna be it for this video. I don't know too much more I could say about it, and I want to keep these videos short. But listen, this is the state of the world that we're in, and like I tell everybody else, do what's in your best interest, but don't rely on these companies because we're starting to see more and more of these companies not necessarily go belly up, but we're starting to see them cut back on actual employment for the actual human. They're relying more and more on using robots to automate tasks and stuff like that, especially in the fast food industry. Now you got that McDonald's down in Fort Worth, Texas, that does everything automated. They only have the damn mechanics in the back to make sure the robots are flipping burgers right. But, you know, so you don't have to pay that crew, that kitchen crew to flip burgers, make fries, stuff like that. And it's just going to keep happening more and more and more. I seen a company, I don't know what the name of it was. I saw it a couple years ago. It was called Solano. They basically had a robot that cleaned. So it knew the navigation of the whole facility that it worked in, like a corporate office. It would go into the bathrooms. It can unlock the door, go into the bathroom, open the stall, and clean the toilet. So you don't have to pay a human to do that. It knows where to get extra fluids to do all that extra stuff. It knows all of that stuff. And I'm like, this is beyond crazy, but it's the world we live in. It's only going to get worse. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe when you see the video, man. I really appreciate it. And once again, shout out to my boy, Scotty. It's his birthday today. You know what I mean?
You ugly motherfucker.
Shout out to that boy, Scotty. And yeah, man, I'll see y'all back here in the next video, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, too.